What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And today's video is a follow-up to what happened yesterday at UFC Saudi Fight Night, where Israel Adesanya unfortunately lost in the main event against Nassourdine Imavov. And it was a great fight. It was a great fight. And as a fan of Izzy, I was very disappointed to see him lose. And also, I was disappointed just because I felt like Izzy was the better fighter. And when that happens, it's to me, it's just a disappointment. I generally, as a fan, I want to see it play out the way it should. And especially for somebody who's been so dominant and at the top of the sport for so long. And it's just such a great contender. I wanted to see Izzy remain at the top. Now, what happened after the fight, Izzy, one of the most gracious fighters out there, one of the very few that is willing to immediately after a loss go on and be interviewed and share his thoughts. He follows that same protocol here. He loses, and I believe this reporter's name is McKenzie Pavicich. And so she kind of has a run-of-the-mill interview with him. And I'm going to start by showing, I think, a great question, maybe a little bit of a difficult question to ask, but a great question. And I just want to say, look, I also work for a much smaller organization, obviously, than the UFC, and we have to do fighter interviews before the fights. We also sometimes go in the cage afterwards and interview the fighters, but usually we're always interviewing the winners, and that's a much easier task. To interview somebody who's just lost a fight is a very tall task because they're going through a very, very difficult, traumatic time. A lot of times these guys are in tears. It's devastating. It could, and especially for Izzy at this point in his career, this could be potentially, it's up to him. I don't think it should be. I'm just saying it could be the beginning of the closing of his career. And like I said, I don't think there's any reason why it should be, because I thought he looked phenomenal. I thought he was the better fighter. I think he's still at the top of the sport. But anyways, so she starts with this question, and then there's a follow-up question here that I just felt like the only way I feel like she didn't mean to do this. And I think she almost caught herself in real time being like, why am I asking this? But on the spot, in the heat of the moment, she had to follow through with it. And so I'm gonna start with this question that I think is an uncomfortable question, but a great question. And then we're going to jump into where I felt like she really crossed the line, especially considering Izzy is being so gracious to even take this interview. Check this out.
Your legacy is cemented in the middleweight division. It always will be.
And I love that show of respect. I think that's so important, especially to show respect to a champion and to a star like Izzy right here, right after this loss. So that part I think is great. I want to give her credit there.
Feels a little silly at this moment to ask you a question like this, but I have to ask where your head's at right now. What is next for you?
I don't know. I'll have to chill and then think about things. I'll relax first for a little bit, just help the teammates who have fights coming up, and yeah, see what I want to do. I was going to do that anyway, but, now I'm forced to. Shout out to Nassourdine for that.
Now, here's where it gets crazy. To ask something like this, again, I got to just say in the heat of the moment, she just must have fumbled. That's the only thing I can say here, because I think she was even regretting it in real time. You'll see the expression on her face as it says the first half of the question and is like, well, now I'm already here. I got to keep going. I feel so bad for Izzy. And then I'm going to talk quickly, too, about other people that I feel like have been disrespectful towards him after this loss. But all right, you judge for yourself. It's just I feel so uncomfortable even watching it.
And just your thoughts on his rise, his performance, and a win like this, what it does for his career. Because you've been in this position before, you've done this to others. When you put yourself in his shoes, can you put into words what he must be feeling?
Oh, he's, must be excited to beat a guy like me. But again, I felt good. Round one, I was in control of everything.
Redirects the question. Brilliant by Izzy. But obviously he's annoyed. He's super annoyed, as I would be, as anybody would be. Why is he being asked? It's crazy. All right, let him finish his response, and then we'll move on.
In hindsight, maybe I should have taken some time. I just didn't want him to rest because I knew he was tired. So I didn't want him to rest. But again, 2020.
Hindsight's always 2020.
There we go. Again, McKenzie, I've seen her before. I know she a lot of times does these fight nights. Obviously, she's taken on the role of what Megan Levy usually does. Megan Levy is a consummate professional, incredible, amazing. And actually, I like McKenzie normally. I guarantee you she didn't mean to to ask this, and in so I'm not trying to, I hope people don't take this, or I hope if McKenzie were ever to see this, our channel is so small, she probably won't, but if she were to ever see this, it's not like I'm saying, oh my God, you're the worst reporter in the world. I think you even recognized in real time, man, I wish I didn't ask that, especially at this tender moment right now where Izzy is kind enough to come and do this interview. But I just want to point this out. And it's the beginning of a secondary conversation. I heard two people yesterday. I'm not going to show you the clips, but one was Luke Thomas. And I think in his thumbnail, he said, should Izzy retire? Or I think he's leaning towards Izzy retiring at this point. And look, I'm not a fighter. My co-host Justin is. He has fought 5 times in the UFC. Has had 78 MMA fights up to this point, and I just don't. To me, that is even a disrespectful thing to say to somebody who's only 35, who still looked phenomenal to me. I know Luke Thomas is a veteran. He's an expert, and he was saying that he felt like Izzy looked a little bit slower. I didn't see that. He looked to be for sure the faster of the two. He was connecting. He did an amazing job in round 1, as Dana White even said. I just don't understand how people can throw that out there when retirement is such a sensitive issue for fighters, because it's the death of their career, of their main pursuit for their entire life up to this point. And they can talk about it in such a cavalier way. Granted, Luke Thomas is an expert. He's a vet in the sport, so I'm sure maybe he knows more than I do, I suppose. But to me, I feel like there's so many other questions and nuances and things that need to be considered other than just like a 7-minute performance in an octagon that you're seeing. You didn't see the training camp. You didn't see how he's competing with other pros in the gym. You don't know where his mind's at, really. So I just feel like that's so short-sighted. The second thing I wanted to say is I heard GC and Rick on the Ariel Helwani YouTube channel talking about Izzy and saying, well, he's handling this loss so well. I don't think his mind is potentially in the right place. Maybe this is a bad sign that he doesn't have the right mindset, because this should bother him more. But if you remember, Izzy's not the norm. If you remember when he had his first loss to Alex Pereira, he immediately went on Ariel's show. He said, hey, it's all good. My life's good. I'm not sweating. Other people, friends of mine, are more upset about this loss than I am. I'm chilling. I've got too many positive things to be getting down on myself after this loss. And what did he do right after that? He went out there and he defeated Alex Pereira in one of the most memorable fights of all time. And we now see what a G Alex Pereira is. And so that victory is it just gets more and more impressive as time moves forward. So anyways, I just want to throw that out there. People who are counting Izzy out at this point, I just think it's so short-sighted and really disrespectful. Will Izzy continue on and stay at middleweight? Will he move up? Will he decide to retire? He's more than welcome to retire if he wants to. Obviously, that decision is up to him. But I still feel like from what we've seen in this performance, he's got so much more to give if he wants to give it. Plus, I'm sure he's making bank on every fight. So anyways, Izzy, best of luck to you. I hope we still get to see you, but I hope you choose whatever is the best for you moving forward. And that's it. Thank you guys so much. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Take it easy.